you're ahead of you. Tell me about it. Us took the hackers months to figure out how to do this.
The poor and the underclass are growing. Racial justice and human rights are non-existent. They have created a repressive society, and we are their unwitting accomplices. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered. That is their primary method of survival. To keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
Welcome to another Boer Republic podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Today we're fortunate to have Brandi, also known as Conservative Texas Woman, joining us today for a discussion regarding South Africa and her tireless efforts in bringing awareness of the issues plaguing our country. We'll also be touching on what could only be described as genocide, where South Africa's high murder rate and farm murder rates are concerned. Brandi's efforts has resulted in a large amount of awareness occurring in South Africa as well as on an international stage, where much can be done on a legal level in order to help to raise awareness of the situation in South Africa. Brandi, thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys so much for inviting me. I'm honored to be here.
The honor is ours, or the pleasure is ours to have you on the show. Before we really get into the heavier topics, could you perhaps please give the listeners a bit more of a background to you and why you decided to get involved with raising awareness of South Africa?
You know, this is not a new issue to me. I would say after 9/11, people started distrusting the media here. I myself sought out, alternative media sources about a year or so after that. And I started coming across, this was like 2002, 2003. So I started coming across these horrible murders and just carnage, and it was horrible. And I would get these stories, and they were just few and far between, at that point. But I kept up with it over the years, and over the years I've followed closely, and I've seen that it's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse. And I actually knew when my president tweeted, I knew the level that it was at. So I've been waiting a very long time for a door to be opened to make a difference. It's not something new. It's something that has been a huge agony for me for a long time. And his tweet, when I saw it, I had to look it up because I was afraid it may be fake. And it just hit me at that moment. We have to do exactly what he did, and that is to bypass the mainstream media and speak directly to the people to gain awareness. And that's what I did. I joined every social media platform. I did not have social media before, and I only speak on this issue on social media. But that's my only reason for being there.
When I say tireless, I mean tireless. It seems as if you are constantly busy doing as much as you can, and obviously at as little time as possible regarding the situation in South Africa. And we've been following a lot of your work on YouTube. We've discussed, as well as a bit off air, we've discussed much of your work when it comes to raising awareness of the situation in South Africa. One of the reasons why we also got in contact, because you were initially involved or worked with a collective of people that worked to raise awareness of farm murders, raise awareness of the situation here in South Africa. It's known as the USAC Center, or the United South Africa Coalition. Could you perhaps tell us a bit more about that? Any background regarding that specific initiative for the listeners?
So USAC was created, United South Africa Coalition. It was created to put information up on there for your people to read, and any Americans that chose to go on there, but also for the people to register and it be a safe place for them to give information. There was a lot of security on the site, and it was a safe place where they could go and submit statements and evidence or anything that they needed to or wanted to, and it be kept safe. It's not kept on the site. I can promise you that. But that was the purpose, so that could build a case to present to the government. and really all over the world, not just the American government, all over the world. I myself had I've been data mining for a long time, and I actually have some amazing contacts that have fell in my lap out of divine intervention. I can't explain a lot of it to you, but I've obtained some very valuable documents, evidence. I mean, thousands. Really, the only thing I was missing were the people's words, and these are very valuable when trying to prove something in a court of law. These are witness statements. They will hold up in a court of law. So these were very important, and we needed these. At this time, USAC, we have received everything that we need. I mean, I have enough evidence to last 3 years. So there's not a need for any more submissions on the site. It was planning to be closed down on the 31st. So the purpose was to make a global declaration. And as you guys probably know, I have researched genocide in depth, the UN definition of genocide. I wrote an article on that, and that opened my eyes to kind of what I needed to do as far as my evidence, how I need to put it together and to prove that a genocide was taking place. So after I wrote the article on the UN definition of genocide, I realized that your people fit into all 8 categories of the UN definition of genocide. All 8. And inside these 8 categories are smaller subcategories, and they break down, the different things that are taking place to put you in that category. So after I wrote that article, I took the Rome Statute and the Geneva Convention as well, and I went down those. And so this is how I put my evidence together on just the genocide, is I knew I had to prove every factor in those documents, every place that your people fit in, I had to prove it with the irrefutable evidence. And the point was, because we know a lot of people know what's happening and they're doing nothing, the point was to shame them, to use their own words against them, to dare them with all this evidence to say, this is not happening.
Yeah, so thanks again for that, Brandi. That's absolutely amazing work. My question is, and it's something that I think all the listeners would be thinking, is maybe if it's possible that you can, through all your work, maybe give a quick summary, a succinct summary of what you would say is a definition of genocide, whereby if you gain enough evidence with regards to that definition, it would give basically irrefutable sort of evidence in that sense.
I will tell you that all of these documents were created to stop what is happening right now in South Africa. Because why? Because in the past, the world has always waited until it's too late. So that's why these documents were put into place, to stop it. So in any of these documents, I'll speak specifically on the UN definition because, the United States is party to that. Genocide is not based on race, first of all. It is also not based on a number or a time frame. It is based on, in the 8 factors, let's go over a couple. So one is the whether there is incitement, by government officials, the level of incitement, whether there is police involved or military. That is in one of the factors. The brutality of the crimes committed, the rapes, the dehumanization of people, of women, that all fits into there. Living conditions, being forced into living conditions that could lead to death, which is, squatter camps, living without electricity, water, food. Also being kept from having in government, jobs. You're being persecuted for your religious beliefs, being made to look the enemy from the other people as a group, as a whole, being made out to be, horrible. And also it specifically states in the UN definition, disputes over land and over past misdeeds, that today, you're not responsible for the deeds of someone 400 years ago, but all of that fits in there. All of that. I mean, if people really read this and went over it, they would actually be shocked to how much this applies to your community. I was.
No, I can imagine. Yeah, no, thanks for that. So again, I think a follow-up question to that is, as we're all thinking, is what type of documents, so what type of evidence, be it police reports, statistical reports from outside organizations, what really constitutes evidence that would hold up in the highest court of law to support something like genocide? If you could just give us examples of what type of documents that you would be collecting, other than, say, personal accounts and interviews and things like that. Yeah, sure.
So the author of the filings, he is not a part of USAC. I do many other things that are not associated with USAC and work with many other people. These filings are completely separate from USAC. They're not a USAC. They're not put into place by USAC. So the author of these, he is a good friend of mine, Hiroko Gasberry. You guys can find him on Twitter. I think he only has Twitter. I have provided a lot of evidence for these filings, and evidence that will hold up in a court of law would be, number one, Julius Malema singing "Kill the Boer." The people's statements, obviously, but also I have other documents, but beyond genocide, proving South Africa has been storing fuel for Iran, which is against international sanctions. Okay, I have documents proving that uranium left over from apartheid, and that the uranium break-ins, who was responsible for the uranium break-ins. I have reports from the UN, leaked documents. I have reports from my own country with concerns about these things, leaked documents. So all of this goes hand in hand. And the thing about it is the government, they did half the work for me, because they openly say these things. The Black Broad-Based Economic Empowerment Act, is that what it's called? The BBEE. Yeah, that's evidence. That's evidence that you're being kept from jobs. Where whites were kept from applying for government jobs. You remember what I'm talking about, where when they went online to apply, if they answered that they were white, they got a pop-up that said, this is only available to non-whites, basically. That's evidence. There's so much. And like I said, the government has done so many things that openly, that they gave me a lot of that evidence. But it's a lot more to it than just genocide. We're hitting them hard. Since December 10th, we have hit them, every week, every other day almost, with legal filings. And they get served with these. So we had a huge filing that's very important on the 10th. They were served, the ANC was served on the 12th. If you will look back, Ramaphosa spent his Christmas in Europe. He spent his Christmas in Europe with handlers, advising him on what to do about this filing and the remedies, because every filing, you have to have remedies in there. So those are the things that you want done to, make the situation better. And I can tell you one of the remedies in the filing was to take the land expropriation bill off the table. So if you'll look back, they took it off the table due to unforeseen circumstances. But then they asked the Department of Public Works director to issue a new Gazette warning. Clearly, it was like a loophole. They took it off the table, and then they put it back on the table, but as the Director General of the Public Works. So what we did is we took that Gazette issue, we added that to our evidence. We sent it in, and I made a video on a letter we sent to the Department of Public Works and the director, letting him know that he was breaking the law and that we were going to use his new Gazette issue for evidence, and that he had no authority to put the land expropriation bill up. So it's just little things like that. If you'll just look back to the 12th, a lot of their actions are directly related to some of these things.
Oh, it's quite interesting to hear how much has already been done. One wonders, what is it that I can do to try and prevent, for instance, the land expropriation bill from happening. Everyone tries to come up with solutions for that, and there are divided opinions on it. But to hear this from an international perspective, from the efforts that you and others have done, is, I must admit, is quite, it gives one hope to think that, that there might be a huge amount of change on the horizon, especially now when we've got elections coming up. Many people are quite hesitant to even participate in the supposedly democratic process, because it is, after all, in a way rigged against us. And you've mentioned quite a few examples of how the system is rigged against white people in South Africa. Broad-based black economic empowerment is one such law, or one such facet.
Affirmative action.
Yeah,
Right.
Affirmative action for a majority population, as well as, even if you apply for a job, you don't, as a white person, you aren't immediately eligible to be employed, even if you are the most qualified. Just on the basis of your skin, you are
Right.
kept from gaining employment.
I'm insane that sounds to me.
I know it's when we tell this to outsiders, in South Africa we're used to it, and that's actually one of the big problems, is being used to it, not doing anything about it. We should have something like what the French are currently doing with the yellow vest movement, rise up, but.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. No, I think it's long past the
Well,
time
it's
to rise
kind
up.
of hard when you're 5 million against, against government tyranny. I have laws put into place that I can protect myself against a tyrannical government. You guys obviously do not. And
No,
that
for
is very
sure.
sad to me. But I
Definitely.
will tell you, guys, we know that the time is short. We have been working, some of us, me personally, it's slowing down now because we're almost to the end of these filings, but we have fought and worked so fast and so hard, not sleeping sometimes, because we know the time is short and because we know the elections are coming up. And I know that everyone can't see it clearly yet, but you will see it when Parliament opens. Don't be discouraged from participating. We're trying very hard to make change, and every single thing that we're doing is a chipping away at the corruption and what they've done. They're in a very precarious position right now. All of the corrupt political parties, because we filed on every single one of them. And they're going to have to make some serious choices. And I'm just laughing because I know that they're in a panic. And I know this because they're attacking me. They wouldn't be wasting their time attacking me if something wasn't working. But we are working fast and furious, and we know that the time is short and the elections are coming.
And you say you've been attacked. One of the reasons why we wanted to speak to you was regarding your Twitter censorship. Before you get into that aspect, what sort of resistance has there been in regards to your work in spreading awareness of the issues here in South Africa?
Related to South Africans or Americans?
Well,
or both.
I think in general, because you have mentioned that you've been attacked, or that you are being targeted, I should say, regarding your work.
Yeah. So I will tell you that the problem is in America that people have no idea. They do not know what is going on. When I do open the eyes of someone, they are completely shocked. I've had American patriots, conservatives like myself, send me things, and they'll say, "Is this true?" And I'll have to tell them, this is 100% true, and this is nothing. This is nothing compared to what is really happening, and I'll send them all of these things, and they'll immediately say, how can I help? This is how conservative, American patriots are. So I'm trying my best on that front. As far as South African people, I can only tell you that I am overwhelmed, humbled, amazed every day, because these people come to my defense under every circumstance. I mean, they fight for me, and they get outraged. If someone attacks me, they just are, they always have my back. They often tell me, like, we've taken you as family, and we're not going to let anyone do that to you. So I get so much support from your community. It blows me away, really. It does. I had no idea that when I started that this is where I would be, But adding on to that, when I started, I knew it was very important for me to get to know the people, that I couldn't effectively speak for them, in America, and bring awareness if I didn't understand the dynamic from the farmer to the English to, what was going on in the squatter camps. And I spent a lot of time, a lot of heartache. I was called a liar, at first, that I didn't care, that we had abandoned them to die, and over time, I gained the trust and respect, because they realized I wasn't giving up on them. And I got to know so many. And like I said, took a lot of emotions, and it was a lot, but I'm so close to many. I've spoken to people's husbands, wives, children, and there are so many that I've made like lifetime friends with, So to be able to effectively make a difference and speak for the people, I had to get to know the people. So I put a lot of effort into that.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, again, thanks for that. Can you maybe take us through, in a sense, what happened on Twitter and why you were censored? Just take us through the events there. Is there any specific violation that you were accused of?
Which time?
Sorry, the time. Yeah. Well, whichever one you want to comment on. Yeah, I know.
So this last time was the third time. And I had received an email from Scott at Loving Life, and he's also a great help. He speaks out about this often, and he has a website up with all of the documents. I meant to say that if anybody wants to read any of the documents that we have published, if you go to Scott's channel, he has the website on his channel. I don't know it right offhand, but you can read all of the court filings that we've published. But I actually got an email from him, and it was a screenshot of a EFF member asking Malema to have my YouTube channel taken down. And what it said was that I was a demon, this demon's channel. And I just laughed, because I'm like, oh, that's funny. I'm speaking the truth, and I actually have real evidence to back up every single thing I say. But I'm the demon coming from the people that seeing, to kill all white people. Okay. But 30 minutes later, I had no Twitter. So then I was targeted by sex traffickers who once was Afrikaans speaking. And that's how he kind of tricked me, because I was skeptical and I wouldn't speak to him. It took him days to get me to speak to him on Skype. And I had a voice call with him, and he was Afrikaans speaking. So I kind of, believed him. But then afterward, he sent some emails that one of them was on history. It was a story, and it was all wrong, because I know history. I love history. And so that was my first red flag. Then I start doing some research, and he has like 8 Facebook profiles, and in the profiles, it's like an escort service. And so then the other guy that he was like trying so hard to get me to contact was here in America, one state from me. His name originates in Ghana. Okay. So that's like the sex trafficking capital of the world, probably. Anyway, I'm like really freaked out at this point. So I contacted someone I know here who is actually an expert in sex trafficking, who came from South Africa, and he's here on asylum. And to have him look into it, he has FBI contacts. So they're sex traffickers. So he's trying to get me to meet with a guy. They obviously don't want to be my friend, But I've been attacked and everywhere. On Facebook, I posted a video reading a legal document, and it was spam. They took it down because it was spam. I posted another video on something, I posted the petition to the UN. It needs 1 million signatures. It was spam. It was taken down. So it's just constant, just constant. And it's mostly EFF members when they come openly to attack me. But I have knowledge that it's more than just the EFF, and that it's planned, and that they're out there watching our accounts and everything. And I speak the truth. I don't speak anything that's not the truth. I don't speak anything that I can't back up with evidence.
You mentioned the petition, the UN petition that needs 1 million signatures. Could you also perhaps tell us a bit more about that? Is it something that you are directly involved with or not?
It was created by someone else, but I have tried to gain signatures for it. 1 million signatures would make a huge statement. We already had someone else created the White House petition, that is currently at the White House. And we gained all the signatures for it. What happened with that is I saw a comment under that petition, and I'm a Texas woman. I'm a lot like your people, actually. We're very proud. We are very determined. We're tough, and some call us arrogant, but hey, we earned it. And I saw a comment under the White House petition from an Afrikaner guy, and he said, we'll never get the signatures. We tried and we failed before. We couldn't reach the deadline. It's 100 signatures in 30 days, 100,000. And when I saw that comment, I immediately just went into overdrive. I got on Gab. I gained like 5,000 followers in 2 days. I shared it. We got those signatures in 7 days. And that's at the White House right now. The UN petition it needs 1 million signatures, which I know sounds like a lot. Imagine what kind of statement that could make.
No, definitely.
If we actually got it.
Yeah, exactly. No, right now, I think the situation on the internet and globally, there's a lot more awareness of what's going on in South Africa. And if any, now is the time to succeed. What we'll do is also include the petition's link in the description so that it can be shared, and hopefully that those signatures get collected as possible.
I don't know how many signatures we've gained on it so far. I would have to get back to you guys on that one.
We've recently had news regarding Trump signing a act that is supposedly a way of claiming that genocide internationally is a risk to national security. I might be oversimplifying it a bit, but it's called the Elie Wiesel Act, or the Elie Wiesel Act, named after a supposed Holocaust survivor. And it was quite a shock because there are some implications, good implications for South Africa. Could you perhaps take us through the process or what you understand regarding the news of this signing? And do you have perhaps any inside knowledge as to some of the processes involved, if you can comment on that?
Yes, I actually do. And when I saw that he signed this bill, I have a good friend that I speak to, and he has met with Senator Marco Rubio several times. And I had spoken to him about 3 weeks before this, and he spoke to me about a bill being pushed through by some senators, Marco Rubio being one of them, and that it was being pushed through with your people in mind. Okay. as you know, my president is constantly attacked, called a white supremacist, a racist. If he even, he knew he would be attacked when he sent out the tweet defending your people, but he didn't care. He did it anyway, and he did it for a reason. Just like this bill, no, it doesn't specifically say your people. It speaks on a lot of different things. I'm looking at it right now, but I do have knowledge that this was pushed through with your people in mind, because a very trusted friend of mine and a very good man spoke to Senator Marco Rubio himself about this issue. In this bill, I mean, this is amazing, actually, because what this does is it opens up the door for everything else. People like myself, we want the borders opened for you, for your people, for the people that wish to leave. I know that all do not, and they should be. The laws are different for your people to come over, and that's not right. It's almost impossible. I mean, they have to be wealthy, and we let in people that hate us. And hopefully, I called him yesterday to get more information on this and to ask him, okay, well, what's next? What did Senator Rubio say? And he told me, honestly, I've been asking myself the same question. So no one really knows what's next. I do know that everything that my president does, he has to do it in a very, calculated way, or he will be attacked and they'll try to block it. So I don't even think the Democrats have realized what he's done yet, which I find hilarious, because it was done in such a brilliant way. So I'm looking at it now, and I mean, it specifically talks about atrocity crimes tragically persist around the globe, from Syria and South Sudan to Burma and Iraq. And it just basically it says that, this is occurring all over the globe, so that this is to prevent, mitigate, and respond to genocide and other mass atrocities wherever they may occur. Our values, national security interests require us to ensure that the United States utilizes the full arsenal of diplomatic, economic, and legal tools to take meaningful action before atrocities occur. So it doesn't specifically say white South African people, but I can guarantee you that this bill was pushed through and signed with your people in mind. And keep in mind, it took me 30 minutes to realize this was the bill we were speaking about, because it was passed through so fast. I mean, literally a month. It was put through and signed. That's unheard of. So what I expect is in the coming weeks is something else, to come. And what I often tell your people is sometimes help comes in the guise of something different. So don't over things that you think may not be valuable.
Thanks for that, Brandi. I think a question and a big question on all the listeners' minds is, if we put on our optimistic hats and say, looking into the future of 2019, if a bill like that gets pushed through, hopefully it does, and especially if all the filings are successful and there is a ruling of genocide in a sense, what sort of practical implications does that have on the South African government at the moment, and also the other parties like the EFF, BLF, and obviously the ANC that has been implicated in that?
I will tell you guys, that are party to these atrocities, including Malema, the EFF, Andy Lee, and the BLF, also the ANC, Ramaphosa. We've also filed with the Department of Justice on it lists 94 names, but basically, Zuma and the Guptas, okay? And we did this for a reason, because the Department of Justice has an agreement with the banks, okay? And they've broken the agreement. It was a 5-year agreement, and we proved that with fraud. And so the U.S. Department of Justice, they will probably look over this, which we got a response from them. They're going to investigate and respond to us in 60 days. They usually respond in 30, but if something requires further investigation, then they give you a longer time frame. But they've given us a number, and they're investigating it. So the reason this is important is because they will go after them, because it will line their pockets, the coffers of the DOJ. And this is just one small thing, of a larger picture. If a genocide were accepted to be taking place by, say, the U.S., for example, which it could be somewhere else, it could be The Hague. It could be, I have no idea. If this were accepted as a genocide, what would happen is an interim government would be sent in. Military would be sent in as peacekeepers. No land would be taken. And it would stay like that until the region was stabilized. And the people could decide what, I don't know what's best for the South African people. I don't assume to know, we have one goal, and that is to stop this and give you guys a choice, where you're not kept from working and being murdered, and that's it. But as far as your country goes, that's up to your countrymen. And, but if genocide were declared, that's what would take place. And they would probably be, arrested. I don't know exactly. All I can say is Saddam Hussein was convicted of crimes against humanity, genocide, and war crimes. We filed the same complaints on all of them.
It's amazing to hear that, what would be termed it's white pilling, to know that there seems to be at least some hope regarding international intervention if things do go south, if we do have a situation, either a civil war situation or one where land expropriation gets really ugly, if it goes into effect and it gets really ugly, because it most certainly will.
Yes.
Another question, especially in regards to the way things, if things were to turn out in a bad way, the civil war situation, or if there was an even worse genocidal situation in South Africa than what there currently is. First of all, have you received any inquiries from people as to the possibility of moving to a place like Texas for the U.S. to take in South Africans if there are those that feel that they don't have anywhere to go and America is an option? What have you received requests or inquiries regarding something like that?
I actually work closely with, like I said, a lot of people, all of the legal filings, and to hit them so hard that they don't know what to do, right? So on the other side of that, I have people that I work with, the two founders of this organization, Peter and Vanessa. Their organization is called the King Resettlement Program. And what they're doing is they're not up and running. So I urge the listeners, please do not flood them with requests, because they would love to be able to help you now, but they're not at that stage yet. They are actively getting everything government approved. They're setting up a government nonprofit, and what they're doing is meeting with human rights attorneys to gain support to help people, at no cost, because obviously if all of this happens, they're not going to have the money to get out. They're not going to have the money to hire attorneys. And what they're doing is amazing, because they're trying to make a way to provide all of that. Where there's a need to leave, we can get people out. Where there's a need for homes, they will be provided homes, jobs, to get on their feet, if all of this happens in this way. They're also lobbying the government to try to get a law passed where asylum can be granted as like a class action instead of one person at a time. These are amazing people, and their organization is called the King Resettlement Program. They're not taking requests yet, but you can go onto their website and register. And this register helps them when they go to Washington, because they can print this out and they can show politicians, and they go often. I think they're going again in February to have a meeting. They can print this out and say, look at all these people, look at the desperation. We need to do something. So don't flood them with requests, but I urge you to go to the King Resettlement Program website and register with them. They're also, people see Texas as a huge farming community, right? And it's partly true. We have, land to farm I mean, everywhere. But the fact is the new generation does not want to farm. So we have a hole there, that can be filled. And they had been looking into buying a town once they get enough investors and everything gets going, and we have like whole ghost towns for sale. And they're really not that expensive. I think he told me the most expensive one they looked at was like $2.4 million. And if they're able to accomplish that's a place where people can kind of settle all together. So preserve your unique culture, language, community. It's kind of a really cool thing. And we have communities like that in America. The Amish, the Mennonites, they stay in little communities like that. So yeah, there are many things being done above and beyond what we're doing. Peter and Vanessa, they're trying to make a way. I know there are others doing some of the same things that they're doing. But also, Devin Hoffmeyer, he has been a very valuable asset, in helping me bring awareness, to Americans, and always willing to help. And then, speaking out to the youth. And, he's determined and he speaks with, authority and knowledge. And I hope that he will be able to reach many, many more.
Well, I think that hearing that sum of, you said $2.4 million, I would like to just have a shout out to our listenership and said that if you guys, we do have some cryptocurrency wallets, and if anyone is feeling gracious, they can just pop a few million in there, and then to all our subscribers, there'll be first invites to our new town somewhere in Texas. Just like to put that in there. Well, that's listening.
We want you guys. I want you guys here. I mean, I would love to have everyone come to Texas. You would love it here. You would be at home. The people are a lot.
No, for sure. That would be quite historic, I think. And it's amazing. It's really amazing to hear that there is these things in place and these opportunities, and people do want us to come over. I mean, there's been a lot happening around the world, and I mean, even some farmers have been taken into Russia because they've even accepted some white farmers to go there. So there's no reason, and I think probably whatever you hear on the mainstream here in South Africa, it's obviously a lot of doom and gloom, and very few people actually really know the open hands and open arms that there is around the world. And that's why obviously we want to bring your message to everyone here in South Africa, that people can know that there is people working there to provide them other ways out.
Well, I urge your people to just ignore the mainstream media completely. Go find alternative media sources, because Breitbart News reports on this. Glenn Beck with The Blaze has spoken on this. Jesse Lee Peterson, he's spoken on this many times. And he's a Black conservative man here in America. And he says a lot of truths that people don't like. But, he tells the truth, and he keeps speaking on this. And I have a lot of respect for him. But people like that, go find alternative news sources that will tell the truth. Breitbart is one of those, and also The Blaze, and just find other alternatives, because we've obviously seen what the mainstream media is up to, and they're going to push their own narrative, and they're not going to tell us the truth.
Yeah, we can't agree with you more. I think I think just for the listenership to understand that, even if you just listening to you and understanding all the attacks that you've received, and obviously you're thousands of miles away, and in a sense, physically safe from attack in a way that we are here. And, we just look at a lot of the alternative media propping up here in South Africa, trying to do exactly the same thing and try and fight back against the mainstream media. The attacks is incredible, and it's swift, and there's so much to lose. So that is, it is extremely difficult. And again, we really try and support all our other alternative media guys doing their job here, but it is a bit of a higher risk that comes with that as compared to the rest of the world. Yeah.
It's a lot. I say I don't fear because, number one, Texas has some of the most loose Second Amendment laws in the United States. We have a law called Stand Your Ground. And what that means is if you threaten my life and my life is in danger, that I can take your life. And it doesn't matter where we stand. It can be in the grocery store, right? So I get all these threats, and I get many more than that. I get threats of rape, torture, everything. But for me, I know if you come on my property, you're not going to leave. If you come on my property with bad intentions, the only way you're leaving is in a body bag. And then I'm going to go back about my business. And I know that you guys you don't have that protection, Even protecting yourselves is not okay. I mean, you're still persecuted for protecting your families. And that should be a basic human right. It's not right.
No, we definitely have some horrible firearm legislation in South Africa. Especially, we would, I think people listening would love to have a stand your ground law or stand your ground.
Right.
The possibility to be able to just do that scot-free without being persecuted for it. In South Africa, there's always a situation where there's a break-in on a farm or in a house and you try and defend yourself. If you kill the person who threatened, then your life is also forfeit. So you can't even defend yourself properly because you'll go to jail or you'd be persecuted in various other ways. One of the other big aspects is firearm control is quite strict in this country. So just having the possibility to open carry, for instance, is also something that, we endorse it. We'd love to be able to have decent personal protection
measures. To have that.
We used to, yes.
Right. I often say, that it's not in our human nature to enjoy killing, torturing, raping, and committing atrocities. That's not human nature. That's something else. I don't know what else to call it, but demonic. To enjoy that, our human nature is we must, to protect our family or ourselves from threat of death. And you should have the right to do that. But just to kill and torture, and then not only to do that, but then to laugh and brag about it online, which I have thousands of those too. That to me just, I don't know. That's not human nature. That wasn't instilled in us,
No, for sure.
I don't understand it.
The situation in South Africa is a fairly messed up one, and it obviously favors those who would do harm rather than those who should be protected from harm. When it comes to medical emergencies, say in a civil war situation or in a shit hits the fan situation, as they say, what issues are there any provisions that have been put in place, or at least when one looks at something like this act that Trump signed in order to protect against genocide, activities of other people around the world who are trying to do something about the situation in South Africa, especially at the UN level? If you know of any, what provisions are in place for outside or international aid to come to South Africa, perhaps in the sense of medical care or volunteers or volunteering to do medical service or protection service, things like that. Have you come across any information regarding something like that?
So what would normally happen, because really the only organization that could handle something on that level is the Red Cross. And that's who is sent in situations like this. But a while back, I can't tell you exactly when, Ross was in South Africa helping with, I don't remember exactly what they were helping with. The story I got was they were helping some people in the squatter camp, some white people, and the government kicked them out of the country. So I don't know if that still stands, or I don't know what came of that, but the Red Cross would be the only organization that could handle something on that magnitude. There would be volunteers. There are Doctors Without Borders, but the Red Cross would be qualified to handle that. But I don't know where they stand with the government.
Right. Brandi, I was just, so as we kind of start winding down in a way, I think another question that we'd like for you to comment on is, how can our listenership and, people listening to this, what can they do to help? Where can they go, and how can they contribute? And any way that you think that we can either speed up this process or just make lives easier for you and everything that you're doing for us.
I'm going to be myself and Alice. I haven't spoken on Alice, but she wrote the book, My Turn South Africa. I don't know if you've read it. If you haven't, you should.
Well, yeah.
It's amazing. And she is here right now. And her book is just really amazing. She's a good friend of mine. We're going to have a website going up. It's going to have a different purpose than USAC, but it's going to be to put information to keep people updated on, what we're doing, what's going on, and a lot of other stuff to bring awareness, So we haven't ironed out all the details yet, but we're going to have that up. And I would just urge the people that no matter what, do not become the aggressors. I know that your people are angry. I know that they're tired, but do not become the aggressors, because every legal filing that's done is done based on the fact that a peaceful people this is being done to a peaceful people, And should the worst happen and the people come under attack, that will be their worst mistake, because then that just backs up every single thing that we've said. And I just urge them to, I think the best thing that they can do is, if you have social media, reach out to other Americans like myself, speak to them, tell them your stories. Some may be willing to not listen, but some will, and don't accept failure. I didn't. When I was trying to get the signatures for the White House petition, I begged people who had hundreds of thousands of followers, just begged them to please help me, please share. So if you get one no or one person that doesn't care, don't give up, because I promise you there's half of a country of people just like me that do care. And if they knew exactly what was happening, they would be outraged. If you can make videos. I know that it's kind of hard, because I know that you get persecuted for it. I know people who have been through a lot, over just telling their story or asking for help. Whatever you're able to do to get the word out, do it. Don't be in the mind state that it doesn't matter. My voice is small. My voice was small too when I began this. I really had no voice. Out of sheer determination, I've come to the point where, I have to close off communication with people that I don't know. And it's just crazy. So don't ever underestimate yourself, and don't give up.
Yeah, thanks.
So that's basically it. Reach out to people. Don't just sit and be silent. Tell people your story, because there are people that care.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, thanks for those inspiring words. And just from our side here at Boer Republic, we'd really like to thank you, honor you for the work that you've done. And for us, it's truly been a great inspiration. It's given us a lot of hope. And I hope that that hope will carry on to the listeners, and that everyone will try and do their part. And it's some very interesting words. And we really like giving our listenership a lot of different angles, and I really appreciate your angle of, that sometimes you have to stand down in a sense, and you have to do the right thing, and hoping that justice and the law will prevail. And just lastly, can you maybe just give us just your channels, the social media that you still are on, how people can reach you and how they can follow you? If you could just give those links, we'd obviously put all the links below, but just for those as a quick reminder of where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Okay, you guys can. I have videos up on YouTube. It's at Conservative Texas Woman. And this is the only issue that I speak on. So, and a lot of these videos are on our filings and other issues. At Twitter, it's at TXAngel1776. And on Facebook, it is Brandi, Brandi, Etoile. And I'm also on Gab. I think my name on Gab is Brandi TX, BRANDI-TX. So that's everywhere you can find me, guys. And if you can find me on one place, you can find me on all of them.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming onto the show. I know many people might not have the opportunity to thank you. So, thank you so much for everything that you do for us, for our people here in South Africa, and for raising awareness. We can't overstate our appreciation for all the tireless work you do. Thank you.
It's my honor.
Thank you very much. And thank you for coming onto the show.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. And by all means, we'd love to speak with you again. We'd love to have you on. And definitely, if there's any updates, I think this is something that we should do again, especially if we get more news regarding the situation on an international stage, what the situation is like, the awareness of the situation in South Africa is like. We'd definitely love to have your input again on the show. Yeah,
anytime, guys. Just let me know, and I will come on anytime.
Great. Thank you so much.
Right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to another Boer Republic podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if this message resonates with you, please spread it as far as you can. Your support is appreciated. We also welcome cryptocurrency donations, and any support we receive in that regard goes to improving our content, as well as enabling us to do more documentary and investigation-style videos. The addresses can be found in the description below. Any feedback is encouraged, and we look forward to engaging with you on our various social media platforms. You can find us on a variety of social platforms, and you can find those links below. Included is our email address, which you can use to contact us. We update as regularly as we can, so please follow and reach out to us. Until next time, stay safe, wherever you may find yourself.